Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy,
invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy,
building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want. Episode 83. Hi, this is Wendy Williams. And marriage happiness is way possible. ConnectAgain.org is very happy to sponsor Mighty Married Moms. We are partners in bringing you closer to the life you really want. Visit us today for marriage boosts at ConnectAgain.org.
Good morning and welcome to Mighty Married Moms. I'm Linda and this is
Wendy Williams
and Debbie Owen.
And we are so excited. We are here with Lisa Lieberman-Wang. She has a business called Fine to Fab. No longer fine. Our guest today, Lisa Lieberman-Wang, is truly fab. Lisa is a #1 best-selling author of the book Fine to Fab, A Successful Woman's Journey Away from Depression, Disordered Eating, and Self-Sabotage. Emotional breakthrough expert and creator of NAP, international speaker seen on TV on shows like CBS, The Talk ABC, Fox, Huntington Post Live, among many others, spoke at Harvard and recently at the Navy Memorial for Women Leading the Future. Today, we are going to dig in and find out how we can go from feeling fine to feeling fab.
Yes.
So we are so excited.
Welcome.
And I just have to say I've known Lisa for a long time, and she's really an extraordinary woman in every way, everything that she does. And so I've been an admirer of yours for a very long time.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda, Wendy, Deborah. I'm happy to be here. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. So we would love to know, a little bit about your journey, your path, and how did you put all this together? It's so amazing.
Yes, the path, sometimes it's the path of least resistance, and we're given gifts and we don't even know it. And this was never a choice. None of this was a choice. This was, I want to say, divine intervention in so many ways. I grew up in a traditional dysfunctional family, and what happened is through those years, I ended up, my dad wanted perfect children. I didn't know there was any such thing as perfect children, and I did everything I could to be perfect and never measured up. Growing up in that home was a bit of a challenge. I ended up developing ulcers and stress, and by the time I was 18, I had a sudden heart attack, and
wow.
What happened is, being perfect is stressful, and I remember going to the doctors, and the doctors pretty much said to me, don't be stressed. And at the time, 18 years old, I'm interning at IBM, and I'm going to college, and I'm also dancing for Arthur Murray and teaching and learning to be a teacher for Arthur Murray because that was more of a passion. And they said, don't be stressed. I was like, well, how do you do that? And keeping a grade point average, and I was in honor classes, had a partial scholarship. And the biggest challenge and the piece that was behind it is I grew up never thinking I was enough. My dad's nickname for me was AH, which meant asshole. And I thought princess would have been better, so now I am one. I grew up in this really interesting dynamic and trying to do everything that would be perfect. By the time I was 18, I had, with the ulcers, I was on medications, was on many at the time, and I couldn't even keep water in my body. Within 30 days, I went down to 95 pounds and was getting on the back. My dad was one of those corporate people who liked to ride motorcycles and thought he would be cool. And so I'm getting on the back of his bike and I fell off, and that's when I was rushed to the hospital. And the interesting part about it is that when we got to the hospital, they hooked me up to IVs and everything else. And my dad said something that I never heard before. And he might have said it before, but I never heard it. And what he said was, I love you. And that was like, wow, Deb, I never heard that from him. So it was a turning point for me and a trigger that actually started 13 years of illness, because I attributed it to, if you're sick, they're nice to you.
Yes, of course you did.
So there was a new lesson that I learned from that, and it was like, okay, be sick, because then no one's going to call you, and here I'm crying. No one's going to call you that and be mean to you when you're sick. And they didn't know how to treat it back then. And this is going back, I'm 52 years old now. So what is that, 24 years ago? And they didn't know how to treat any of this. I didn't know anything about it. They started watching me. I couldn't even keep water in my stomach. And then a doctor says to me, you have control over this. I said, what do you mean I have control over this? They said, well, you can keep it in. So then there was another switch that went off and said, I have control over this. And I ended up starting bulimia, which was never putting my finger down my throat or anything. I already couldn't keep food for a month. I had a gag reflex. So it turned into something worse. The IV seemed to have been loose. I didn't know. I'm 18 years old. What do kids know at 18? I started playing with the IV, and then all of a sudden I got I had 30 doctors around me asking me why I was trying to kill myself. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was just making it was loose. So they put me in a psychiatric ward not knowing what to do with me, and where there were people that were really sick, like schizophrenia and other things, and all I want to do is get out of the hospital. And do you know that when you sign yourself in, you can't just get out?
Yeah.
So you have to write a letter, and you have 3 days that they have to review to let you out. So I do get out, and then within a couple of months I'm put into a hospital, another one again. They didn't really have eating disorder units the way they do today. It's all over. So years ago they didn't really know how to treat eating disorders, and they ended up just putting me in psychiatric units and so forth with people that were totally challenged, schizophrenics and so forth. And when I found ways to get out, it became a cycle. And eventually I did end up in eating disorder units, and that was over 13 years, 5 more hospitalizations.
Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. And what you end up doing is you feel like I'm a sick person.
Right.
This is my life.
Right. That became the model. The model was, what's wrong with me? And then it also became what I thought was, oh, this is great, I can control it, was a misnomer because I couldn't control it. And I ended up going into this tizzy. I got to the point where I was very successful. No matter what I did, I was always successful. I was making 6 figures by the time I was 23 years old. I had my own, I'd interned at IBM, ended up prior to that even, I had my own I think it was after. I had my own computer consulting company, had 8 employees, did really well, and then eventually ended up going to corporate with MCI. So I've been over the journey of corporate America, and that really worked for me for a period of time. But then the truth is that, I burn out, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So my last hospitalization was after being at MCI. I was 400% a goal for years, and
Wow.
every year I ended up in the hospital, and that became my vacation. And because there would be 6 weeks.
Right.
Because I didn't know how to take off for myself for no reason. I didn't know what wellness days were. It was like sick days were okay to take off, but wellness days weren't. And that was really a thing. And I said, if I ever had to take off again, it's going to be because of vacation, not because of a hospital. and that's 22 years ago already. And I've had 22 years of abstinence from hurting myself, but it wasn't through the hospitalizations. It wasn't through therapy. It wasn't through Overeaters Anonymous. What ended up happening later years, they found what I didn't share is when I was younger and 16, I had experienced date rape. I had been abused by other situations as well in relationships, and just never told anybody. It was one of those things. It was like, what's wrong with me? It was a lot of shame and blame, and I didn't know how to deal with it. None of us are taught that, right? And because
Right.
it's a secret, and the first thing that happens is I thought I did something wrong instead of this was a stupid person, doing something wrong. And so it became a journey over a very long period of time. And eventually, the cool part is that one of the friends I had kind of gathered over the years was a doctor and had gone through bulimia, and she says, this guy Tony Robbins is in town, you need to go see him. And I said, who's Tony? Like, who is he? And she said, he's doing a fire walk. And I was like, okay, whatever that is. And I ended up going to this event. She signs me up when I'm actually, she's a chiropractor being adjusted by her and puts me in VIP. And I get there and I end up having face-to-face with Tony, and we're walking to the firewalk, and I look up at him, 6'8" guy.
Yeah.
He's big.
Yeah, and I'm 5'2" on a good day, so it's like really distance here. And I said to him, I'm bulimic, can you help me? And he just smiled, didn't say anything. And I'm thinking a firewalk's going to stop it. I don't know. She told me I had to go see him. A firewalk.
Burn it out, right? Yeah.
Well, burn it out, right?
Yeah.
No, that wasn't the answer, Wendy.
No.
But what happened is I ended up going through his whole program, and there was one of his events, they were looking for someone suicidal, and quite honestly, I never raised my hand. I don't know how I was called on. There was 2,500 people in the room, and all of a sudden, I'm having a conversation with him, and I'm called up to the stage, and I'm thinking, my buddy here who was next to us, like they give you buddies, must have said something to him, or how'd they know?
Right.
And I had several months of abstinence from hurting myself, but the night before there was stuff coming up. I went back to the food, had all these challenges going on, and so I ended up winning for being most effed up out of 2,500 people.
All right.
Oh, Lisa.
All these things I win. How cool is that, right? And it turned out that in that whole scenario, he worked with me for 6 hours, and then all of his trainers worked with me after the whole week, and that was the beginning of the end of hurting me. That was the beginning, but it wasn't the end, because 3 months later, I went back to it again, and I was like, "What is this? What is this need to continue to do this?" And I'm sure a lot of people that my uncle would say to me, "How can someone so smart be so dumb?" And I mean, ladies, I had scholarships. I'm really smart. It was like, how can you be so dumb? And it was like, well, I don't know the answer other than the fact, and this was the thing, other than the fact that I didn't know how to stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody told me what was wrong. Everybody pointed fingers of why it happened, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, all the other. You can find all these things, but okay, now what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know why.
Ask that.
Yeah, it's like, it was like going to therapy. It was like pulling a scab off my arm and then leaving raw all the time. It was awful. So what happened is Tony one day, and this is so amazing, there's 12 of us in a room, and we get together, and I do a lot of charity. As a matter of fact, I started my own with the Fine to Fat Foundation, but I've been doing the Basket Brigade for years, the Weber Foundation. I've helped National Eating Disorders Association. I've helped so many charities and supported them for, 20 years right now, over 20 years. And Tony, and there was a group of us together, and we were supposed to be meeting one of Tony's proteges, Joseph McClendon, who wrote Unleash the Power of Black Choice. And I was not in a great place, didn't even want to go. And it turned out that I said, well, Joseph's going to be in town. I should support him. We go into the event, and we go to the meeting, and all of a sudden Joseph can't make it, and Tony Robbins walks in the door.
Awesome.
And there's Tony and 12 of us who are there about how to serve the community. And Tony looks at us and goes, "Are there any questions?" And I'm like, yeah, I have a question. He goes, "Well, what is it?" I go, "Well, if you're so great, why am I still effed up?" That was my question. And
You.
and he and he says to me, "Well, what's your purpose?" And I just sat there and I said, "I don't have a purpose." And he went into a 3-hour dissertation. And when it's done, he comes over, gives me a big hug and a kiss, and he says, "And don't ever ask me that question again." So that was kind of the turning point of where all this ended up coming. I ended up spending the next 20 years trying to figure out the question of what's wrong with me. To find the answer was, there's nothing wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
That was the answer. And then I started serving and helping other people. I've been trained by the people who trained Tony, Dr. Bandler, Dr. Grinder. I'm a licensed master NLP practitioner and trainer. I've been trained with neuroassociative conditioning, cognitive behavior therapy. I mean, I've gone through the whole gamut, invested over $750,000 looking for the answer to what's wrong with me over 30 years to find out that I just didn't have the tools.
Yeah.
And so I created a different neuroscience, which is neuroassociative programming. And it was because of the fact how we can program computers to do what people do. Why can't we program people to do what other successful people do? And we can actually change behaviors. What takes years, we can change it in, I'm going to say this, meaning minutes, hours, or days. What takes years. And I have enough proof to show you in thousands of case studies that we've been able to change things that people have been holding on to for the longest time. I have clients that have gone through therapy, who's OA and AA and everything else, and never really measurable results that lasted. And I just started working with men. I've been working only with women for 4 years. And this one gentleman said his wife turned around and said, I've seen more progress from you in 2 months than I have in 30 years.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
That's amazing.
What are some of the core concepts of NAP? What can you tell us about it?
Well, what it is most of the time the stories don't matter. And the mistake everybody makes is they keep retelling the story.
Right.
Mhm.
And Deborah, the bottom line is that the reason the story doesn't matter is the story is only the representation of what you think the story is, but it's not
the meaning that you give to it.
Absolutely. It's the meaning you give it. So what happens is you and I can be in the same circus, and I love clowns and you don't love clowns, and you think it's the worst experience in the world, and because I love clowns, I think it's the best. So it's only the way we're going to reference it. And if you think of your brain as a filing cabinet, you store all these different references over the years. And when something happens, we're pulling out different things because our brain wants us to look for what's familiar. That's what it is. At the end of the day, it's going, what's familiar? So we do association games, and sometimes we make something familiar that has nothing to do with the actual circumstance. That's how we can all be in the same exact experience, but walk away with something different, because it's based on our references. So the map is not the territory, means that just because it seems that way, it doesn't mean it's what it is. Mm-hmm. And then the power of our conscious, subconscious, and conscious, subconscious, unconscious mind is so powerful that our conscious mind only works in 10-second increments. So what happens is we turn around and we think, okay, I want to eat well, I want to be healthy, I want to do this, but all of a sudden you see a chocolate cake and you get all excited and you know it's not good for you, but your unconscious mind already knows I'm not worthy, I can't stay on a diet, I'm not good about this. So then you justify it by saying, it has eggs in it and that's protein.
It's so true. That's so true.
Oh, yeah. How do you know that?
And then you say, you know what? It's got chocolate in it, and that's antioxidant.
Antioxidant, right.
And then all of a sudden you're eating it and you wonder where you got there. It's because if we don't reprogram our operating system, just like if we were operating on a computer on DOS, none of us would be communicating today, right? We upgrade computer systems. Why can't we upgrade this computer system? And we're still operating on old systems is the challenge. And I never really answered your question. I'm going to back up for a moment. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sure.
So you asked a question, is how did I start doing this? This was something that I've been serving for 20 years. I had no intention of ever sharing my story with anybody of what happened. As a matter of fact, I had done such a good job of erasing it and just making a new story for myself that people thought I had a silver spoon in my mouth when I grew up, and they'd always say to me, you don't understand, you wouldn't understand. And instead of competing, I'd say, okay. I said, okay, I don't understand. And then I'd just let it go. Never, ever. And Linda, you know me a long time. You would never have known my background.
Never.
And believe me, ladies, it's a lot more detailed than what I'm letting you know, because it goes, I'm protecting other people right now. It's crazy stuff that people should never have to grow up or experience. But what was really interesting about it is when I'm a platinum partner and also a senior leader for Tony Robbins, I'm a trainer. I've been doing 20 years. And we're in Egypt and with Tony, and there's only 70 of us because I've been privately mentored with him as well, and my husband went through the platinum program too. And one of his trainers, Lauren, who knows me 20 years, says to me, Lisa, you're playing small.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, how do you figure? I'm helping so many people. I've trained people in personal development for 20 years. I've spoken to 25,000 people at a time, teaching them how to build themselves up and do things. And she says, you're playing small. And she says, you're supposed to be helping women. And I said, no. I teach people how to make money, how to build themselves. That's what I do. She says, no, you're supposed to help women. And ladies, are you familiar with kinesiology?
Yes.
A little bit, yeah.
Is that muscle testing?
Yes.
Yes, it is, exactly. So she starts muscle testing me. We're in the Four Seasons in Egypt in the lobby. And she starts muscle testing me, and I'm crying, and I'm going, no. And she's going, yes. And she's testing me, and she says, you're supposed to do both. And emphatically, I walk, and I'm balking. I'm going, no, I'm not. I'm not going to do it. A year later, to that week. Seriously. I ended up having a dream. I wake up one morning and I come downstairs and I call my husband Handsome. And I come downstairs and I said, Handsome, I'm supposed to save lives. I said, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but that's what I'm supposed to do. And that's how Fine to Fab started, because I knew there were a lot of women out there who had similar, not the same story, but the shame, blame, you know, therapy, looking for the answer, thinking a diet is going to make them feel better, or a drink's going to make them feel better, or whatever it is, and not knowing how to fix it. And thinking that, you know, there was a problem with them when there really wasn't. It's just nobody gave them the tools that I acquired over the 20 years, you know. So I had made the decision I was going to do this, and my husband's like, you have to write a book. And I'm like, I don't want to write a book. I don't even read books. I bought a book on TV. I was like, I'm not writing a book. And it turned out that I ended up writing a book, and this is the book, and it's Fine to Fab. And it's 7 Secrets of a Successful Woman's Journey Away from Depression, Disordered Eating, and Self-Sabotage. I spent 13 years on 30 prescriptions a day for high blood pressure, asthma, allergies, depression. I was still depressed. I still had high blood pressure and all the other stuff, and it wasn't working. And Fine was how I used to feel. And Fine is is effed up. You can use the full word if you want. Insecure, neurotic, and emotional to fabulous, awesome, beautiful. Mm-hmm. And my family used to say, how are you doing? I'd say fine. And they, how you doing? Fine. And finally I said, I'm fine. I'm effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. Leave me alone. So now when people say, how you doing? If they say fine, they go, yours or mine. So I'm like, yours. You know, it hit number one the first day I went live. I did a pre-launch, never expected to go so big. And because of it, it's just catapulted everything from being on the talk and CBS and Nuvo TV, and some of my clients have done so amazing, like Rosie Mercado, who's a plus size model, who's gone from like size 400 to 200 and change. And it's just amazing, you know, what people are doing, but it's not even people with weight anymore. It's all emotional. It's all the self-sabotage we do and the stinking thinking that gets in our way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're actually kind of running out of time, shockingly. But so I'm wondering if we can pull a couple of nuggets here that our
listeners can take away today after they shut this off. What can we walk away with, Lisa, that you would advocate for us to do?
Okay. Well, you know, I have the 7 secrets is really important to me, the 7 secrets of overcoming self-sabotage. And I'd like to offer everybody a free webinar, and I'll give you the links so you can share it.
Wow. Great.
7secretstofab.com. And that's just a great webinar, which will go just a half hour over, you know, how to do that. But the first thing is to be aware. You know, it's a lot of times we're not even acknowledging it. My number one step is acknowledge fear and doubt. Not judge it, not beat yourself up about it, just acknowledge it. Yes, I don't feel good about this. Yes, this is happening. Look how I'm responding to this. Is this working? Is this not working? So acknowledge it. The second is breaking through toxic meanings and emotions. Do you know it takes 20 positive statements to counteract one negative?
It does.
Crazy.
20?
Yeah,
Okay,
20 to 1.
That's a higher number than I have heard, but the point...
5 to 1 neutralizes, and 20 to 1 makes you in a more positive state.
Okay. Yes. And so what I do is I ask all of my clients to actually start their day with 50 positive I ams. So it's like, I'm fabulous, I'm awesome, I'm beautiful, I'm amazing, I'm nurturing, I'm kind, I'm loving. I mean, 50 every single day. But here's the best part. You ready? This is a secret that makes it lifelong and lasting. You do it every morning in your birthday suit. See, here's the challenge. People think I'll love myself when? I'll love myself when I'm 10 pounds lighter. I'll love myself if I didn't have this wrinkle. I'll love myself when, right? I'll love myself when. But here's the thing. It's like if we don't love ourselves now, we won't make better choices for ourselves today.
Later.
You need to love yourself now. So instead of I love myself when, it's like we need to fall in love with who we are, bumps and lumps and all this other stuff. I mean, I am so proud of my bumps and lumps. I share them with my husband. Handsome, look at this, you know. I do. And I did my book and people said, why didn't you Photoshop? I was like, I'm 52 years old. I'm pretty proud of how I look and I don't need to Photoshop because I love me as I am. And I couldn't have said that 30 years ago. And I couldn't have said that 40 years ago. I couldn't just said that, I just started saying that 20 years ago. So, to be able to say that is huge.
One thing I want to interject or add to what you've said is that these 50 I ams, standing naked and saying those things, yes, it's going to free us up and make us better, but everybody in the world is waiting for each one of us to show up so that we can contribute to the world. And when we're locked in and hating ourselves, we're not contributing. And so if we all step fully into the person that we were created to be or that we have the gifting to be, wouldn't the world be a better place, especially if the women did it? Yeah. Not for nothing. No. I'm just saying.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I have people who came to me and they didn't even, I have a woman who's amazing. She's a health expert. She went to school for health education, knows everything about what to eat, to help people, knows weight loss. She comes to me because she really just couldn't function. She didn't know whether to say hello or good morning to her kids. She was just really depressed and went through a lot, was sexually abused by an uncle, kept that as a secret for years. And she had just, closed up in so many ways. And the irony is we got her doing some of these things. She went through the whole program. I have a 10-week transformational program and weekend retreats. She went through the program. Not only today is she happier than she's ever been. Her relationships improved. Her husband's relationship with her has improved because we freed her of all the stuff that was, thinking she needed to protect herself from. But the best part is she went from a size 12 to a size 6. And it was no diet. It was no diet. It was
all emotional and mental.
Right.
It was all emotional and mental. And I had this
the weight.
I have this all the time. I have another woman came to me because of perfection and other things that she was just beating herself up with. And she ended up losing 40 pounds, not during the 10 weeks, but over a period of time within 7 months of the program, she's dropped 40 pounds. And now she has her husband in the program because now we have it for men. So she put him in. Actually, he put him in. That was really the truth. He called me and said, I need help. Yeah. And it had nothing to do with food. It had everything to do with anger, honestly, emotions, and how he managed it. It was amazing.
So those are some great things that we can do. So the 7 secrets, and they're on that webinar.
Yes, and also, and I talked to Linda about it, and I share with you ladies that I was going to offer a free consultation. So if anybody would like to see after they watch the webinar, because I really want you to learn more about the 7 secrets.
Okay.
If you go to 7 Secrets to Fab, watch the webinar, and you see something there that calls to you and said, I want more help, I'd like to learn more, I'm offering a free consultation. It's a $500 value if you qualify. And I say if you qualify because I'm really looking for people who are ready for help. Yeah. And those are the people we'll see if and how we can help. And I have a whole faculty that works with my clients. It's not just me. There's 7 of us. From nutritional consultants to doctors to femme transformation experts to everything else.
And your coaching program is all centered around your new science of NAP, of neuro-associative
programming.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Kudos to you. That's just great.
Amazing stuff.
Very inspiring.
Very.
Yeah, really. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. I'm just really blown away.
Yeah.
I mean, I always thought I was blown away by you anyway, but now I'm really blown away. and just in awe. It's really incredible. And it just sounds like an amazing program. I've been looking around on your website and thought, I just want to work with her. I just want to be part of that program. So we'll definitely encourage our guests to do that. It'll also be in the show notes. All the links to Lisa will be in our show notes. So you can go to mightymarriedmoms.com and you'll be able to find all this. You'll be able to find to Fab. And, Lisa, just findtofab.com is your main website, right?
Yes.
So you can link to this webinar through there as well.
Yes, you can.
Great. And anything else coming up that you want us to know about that people...
The foundation.
Well, the foundation is huge, actually. We have an event this weekend on Sunday, but always watch for stuff. The foundation started because of all the charity I've been doing. I wanted to be able to really give back, directed to where I thought I needed it the most, and that. So for the Find to Fab Foundation, it's to be able to save years of shame, blame, and therapy. And one of our goals in doing that is bringing the education into the schools so we can help the children not to have to become challenged adults.
Wonderful.
That's so great.
That's so
great.
Incredible.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank
great.
you.
So, well, Lisa, Thank you so, so much. And this has been amazing talking to you. And I know there's even more to talk to you about. So we're kind of secretly hoping you'll come back again.
Oh, I would love to. I'd love to. And I actually want to hear more about you. I love everything you guys are doing separately and together. It's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. We're having a lot of fun, and we're really, we want to help women have a better life and be able to connect with these things. And, the more people we talk to, the more it's about mindset and about your inner being, and all these other things are the things that we've been focusing on, right? The outer stuff, but it's the inner stuff that really matters. So it has been an honor and a pleasure talking with you this morning. Yeah. And thank you to our listeners. Remember, you can find us on iTunes under Mighty Married Moms. Please check us out and don't keep us the secret. Subscribe, and if you can, leave us a review. This has been an amazing conversation. We have more conversations. So if you like what you heard today, and we know you'll want to hear more. So have a great day, and thank you from Linda,
Wendy, and Debbie.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Thanks again, Lisa.
So long.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at mightymarriedmoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community, where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.